All right, it is 10:02, so I'll just go over some ground rules for this workshop before we get started. So please feel free to ask a question. You have the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to be able to ask any question. We'll keep some of those for the end. If I see anything that pops up that you really need to answer throughout the workshop, keep them all, and then we'll get through the Q&As at the end. And it is 10:02. I see we have most of the attendees that joined in. So I think we'll get started. So welcome today to this Pro Planner training session. The idea is more to talk about best practices around scheduling and planning. So I'm going to share my screen, go through a couple slides to teach a little bit about what is scheduling, what is planning, what are some best practices that we have. And then we'll dive into the platform to show you live how to build a schedule, to promote collaboration, and from there, how to be able to build Lookaheads with subcontractor, with the team, and how that will look like for your project. So let me share my screen. So I'm your host again. My name is Jean. I just want to introduce myself to tell you a bit why we're trying to do a training session today on scheduling and planning. Not so much centric on how to use Pro Planner, but we will show you live how to get to the session. My background, I worked in construction my whole life, family of builders, then studied construction management, civil engineering, and then spent 4 years at DPR Construction working on different types of projects, whether as a general contractor and also in self-performed concrete. So without those 4 years, I was exposed to every aspect of scheduling, from almost the owner side, the client relationship side, all the way down to being on the subcontractor side. So today, the idea would be to talk about the two main topics will be, of course, construction schedules and look-ahead planning. I like to start with a quick conversation on what is a successful project, what does it mean to most people in the industry, and then we'll jump into the platform and show you live how to build a schedule to promote collaboration, and then how from there can you generate a look-ahead plan with your subcontractors. And we'll keep some time for Q&A. So what is a successful project? We ask this question to a lot of our clients when doing conversation about scheduling and planning. And these are the 6 key items that come the most. Successful project, whether you're a project manager, an owner, or anyone that works in construction, of course, you want no safety incident. We hear, of course, finishing on time, on budget, quality product, being profitable because everyone is here in the end to make money for the projects, and a happy client that will lead to repeat work. All of these items are very tied to scheduling and planning. And the data that I'm showing you at the bottom shows that 90% of construction projects experience delays, which goes against all those successful factors that we're trying to achieve. If you experience delay on a project, it means you may have to do overtime, it means you may have to work on the weekend, which is likely going to make safety incident more likely to happen, which means your budget is going to go up, which means your schedule is going to get delayed, which shows that out of those projects that are delayed, the average delay on construction project is 20% of the original date. Just setting the tone on why it is important to build a schedule properly and then understand what scheduling is. So just to bring it back to the basics, what is construction? What is a construction schedule? The definition says in project management, a schedule is a listing of project milestones, activities, and deliverables tied through dependencies. What it really is in construction, of course, is a contractual requirement with the owner. Your contractual schedule or your master schedule would be a contract document that you have to deliver on time for your owner. The more traditional method, of course, is the one that has been used for many years now, is the CPM scheduling or critical path method scheduling, which is simply a list of activities based on relationship, finish to start, start to start, with a specific sequence that will show you what is the longest path to build the schedule and which activities are on a critical path, which means if an activity is on a critical path, any impact to the start date or end date of this critical path would lead to delays to the end date. The other method there's others that I may not get to today, such as, we talk about tag planning and SIPs and so on that are related to lean construction, but the more common one that is not always fully implemented, but that is being seen on project is the last planner system. So the last planner system says we are starting with milestones, then phases. And as we get closer to the work, we will then plan the look ahead planning and our weekly work plan and track all of this to make sure we could track the learning part of the person plan complete variances so that then we could feed back to the milestones. I don't think there's a one size fits all. The last planner system does promote better collaboration. What I'd like to show you today is a bit of a mix of both and see what makes sense to your projects. Now, what is construction look ahead planning? So we build a construction or contractual schedule with our owner, but sometimes things change. Sometimes the people that are actually building the schedule are they're two different people than the people that are running the field, meaning a project manager and a superintendent. And very often we see that the superintendents do not have access to manipulate the schedule or do not know how to use the scheduling software. So a lot of people in the industry will fall back down to a 3, 4, 6 week look ahead that will be an Excel format. It's easier to manipulate for superintendent and the team in the field. You will list all your activities, check which days you'll be working on, and having a list of notes that you could share with the team. In last planner system, when pool planning, it would be similar. We'd bring milestones from our main schedule and then do more of a collaborative session using the sticky notes and looking at handoffs within the different trades. In both ways, in both cases, the challenge is that you do not have a direct relationship to your contract. Right now, none of those activities are really showing you in lifetime your activities from your schedule or your milestones from your schedule that are in your contract, which leads to a lot of disconnect between what happens in the field and what your contract is saying, or a lot of double work for your PMs and supers to be able to sync both information because you're using two different tools. So today, what I'd like to show you is I'm going to get into the platform right now. I'm taking this product as an example, found it online, just to be able to build a schedule that makes sense. We'll look at a mixed-use podium building, 5 floors apartment on the top. Let's do a steel and concrete structure and about $15 million project. So now let's access our scheduling platform here. We'll be doing this workshop, of course, using Pro Planner, but the goal is to teach you on best practices around scheduling and planning in general. So right now I am in my scheduling module. In this project, we were just about to, it's a design assist job. So we're in design development now, working on our construction document. And the owner is asking us to finalize the schedule as we're getting a better sense of what the project is working on. We know that we need to focus on 3 main things. We need to have an understanding of what milestones, what are the key milestones that our owner wants us to relate to, and have that conversation with them, because it is a way for them to track key dates that we cannot miss throughout the project. Then we'll get into phasing. So the phases will be, of course, what is the overall sequencing of your project based on the specificities of the project, and adding the necessary activities for us to have enough detail and understanding of what we need to do. So right now, we know we've had a conversation with the owner. Contract start date needs to be 10/6/10. This is when we just had our permit approved, so we should be able to mobilize. Then we had the conversation about the key elements. So we know we want to celebrate top out, for example. We want to make sure that when the skin is complete, this is also a milestone. It means we are dried out and we could move into the interiors with drywall and such things. Energizing will be very important because we have a podium, and of course, because we could then have a CFO, certificate of occupancy. And the owner asked us to track the first floor that are the stores and shops as a CFO, different than the entire building, because people will have to move in and maybe do some modifications. So right now, one of the activities that I need to add, of course, is construction end. One of the milestones, so I need to add. We'll set this as 0 days, and then we have this milestone that's created. So looking at the sequence, we started looking at, we need to mobilize. It's going to take probably like a couple of weeks because we need to bring in all the traders and prepare the area. Grade, excavation, footings, foundation wall, slab on grade. Footing, foundation wall, and slab on grade are all 3 the same category. So maybe if we want to put this into a phase or WBS, work breakdown structure system, I am able to here add an activity and say, let's call this foundations. And then if I select these 3 activities, I could then just bring them into the same and indent into the same area under foundations. There we go. So this is a category we want to track. Steel structure, 1 contractor, they told us about a month. We had that conversation. Again, as much as you can. If it's design assist, maybe not for like design build. And if you know which contractors, you may have an idea. the more you can ask them before you put it into a contract, the better, because again, the contractors will be the one that are building in the field. So that could help you finalize a better schedule. So we're looking at concrete decks. Interiors will be broken out in two. So maybe we could break out the interior phases into two. So we'll have the podium area and then the apartments. The podium area, sorry, I have a typo, will be then broken out into further detail. So in the podium area, we'll have to do in the interiors all the framing and so on. I'm going to keep adding a couple activities. Let's do framing. Let's do one side drywall, MEPs. We'll keep it simple, but the idea is to just let's phase it based on what the schedule is telling us. The project needs to be built through. We'll do the end of the drywall. Maybe taping. Paint. Oh, maybe we need to change this. We forgot about flooring before we move into the other area. So I could reorganize those two. Great. And then I have a sequence here. I like this sequence. I'm going to select this because it's going to be a similar sequence for the apartment. I copied them under apartment, creating another WBS. And I could just come and paste that entire sequence in here. Great. So as far as duration, the framing, we had a conversation with our team. We know the entire framing for the podium area, maybe a little shorter. We need 10 days. One side drywall, 5. The MEPs told us about 20 days. Close out. We're going to tape the walls. 10 days for flooring and 5 for paint. The areas above is going to be a little bigger because we have the entire project. So maybe framing could be broken out into further detail. We could have framing for each level. So we could do level 1, 2, 3. And level 3 to 5. Again, now we'll say this is going to be 10 and 10. One side drywall could be 15 days, 30 days for the MEPs. There's more work to be done on the side. So what you see here that I'm doing as I'm building the sequence of work, I'm just listing all the phases of what we need to do. I'm not really looking at the sequencing of, am I going here first? Am I going next to this area? Right now, you just have to list all the things that you have to do. And then you could get to the more level of detail. Right now, a few things that I'm missing, of course, that I could be adding right here. You know, you could do this quick insert. It's easier, or I could just go ahead and add an activity under the construction tab. That will then go at the bottom. Once we're done with the skin, there's a few things that we didn't get to. So I've done the foundation, the interiors are done. We'll say building skin, and then we'll have roofing and so on. So let's say we have the sequence that is below all the activities. Just for timekeeping sake, I'm not going to give the entire detail, but just so we could have enough to sequence out. Right now, what do? We know there is going to be 4 types of relationship. Finish to start, which is the more traditional one, which means you could do, let's say after the construction start, we have our permit. The first thing I want to do is mobilize. Or you could do start to start, finish to finish, and start to finish. Those will create this logic, the sequence that you need to build your project. So right now, the first couple ones are going to be pretty direct as far as the finish to start relationship needed. So what I could do here is I could select them all and say, let me do a waterfall logic and click link. And now I've just sequenced all these activities together. Looks like concrete deck. We didn't quite get to putting the right direction. So we discussed this. About 10 days of concrete that will be coming in. As we keep moving forward, again, the sequencing may be different. So maybe as soon as the steel structure is done, we could also start maybe the concrete deck as follows, and maybe do a start with a delay on the framing. Let's say first floor is done. I could then, first floor and second floor are done. Maybe I need to get my drywall crew to be coming in. So framing could start with a lag. So let's say we know we have about 5-day lag in this area. And then after framing, one side drywall would follow. So you see finish to start. After the one side drywall is done, maybe the framing is done, we could get our MEPs in. So I'll do another start to start. And then the next 3 are going to be following each other. So we'll do the same concept we did before. Link them up. And then the framing on the higher levels, could select them very easily by just selecting the apartments area. Link it up and then say, after the flooring is done in this area, how do we want to sequence this? Podium is going, we're going up. As soon as the framing is done here, we could follow the framing right there. And then as soon as we are done with the framing area, we're working on one side drywall. On the thing, we could do the skin. We could have multiple crews working at different places. So let's say I have a bit of a sequence, making sure I save that is being built. We're doing the interiors, we're doing the apartments, podium is broken out with the apartments, and then the framing has been broken out in different areas. I need to make sure that I connect my milestones to the right elements here. So the milestones will be connected directly to activities. As soon as I'm topped out, it means my structure is done. So after the steel structure, I will connect the top and out. And you could reorder them the way you like. Some people prefer to keep all the milestones together. Some people would rather keep the milestone right after the activity that's connected. So if I want to reorder the top out and bring it up closer to the steel structure, I could just keep it closer here. That's just a milestone that we have connected. As soon as that's done, it means we could start the concrete decks. Skin is complete. Done. Energizing, we need to have some more MEP activities. Once the MEPs are done here, maybe we could energize. As soon as the first flow is done and we could move in, I'm going to connect this to the first flow. As soon as the paint is done, we get our CFO, and then construction ends. So we have the main milestone that we're looking at. Sometimes people like to categorize them in the same area. Right now, skin complete, I could just move it closer to skin. Energize if I want to keep it closer to the MEPs. And then CFO, and then the certificate of occupancy could be kept at the bottom. Or again, I could bring it closer to what we're looking at right here. I've saved my project, my schedule is built, we have a duration, and now we know that our end date is going to be 8:30. That's still a conversation to have with the owner. The owner will want to be able to move in. They won't be able to have business going. So often, very often, that end date will be dictated by the owner. In which case, you could build your schedule, see if it fits, or just do what we call a full planning method, which means you'll start by the end and pull back all the way to see when you need to start. Again, depends on your familiarity with the last planner system methodology. Why do I say that we are able to build a schedule to promote collaboration? What you're seeing here is we get into the detail, but really not too detailed, right? The activities are 5, 10, 15, 30 days. We see a lot of project managers that are very familiar with scheduling will build 3, 4, 5,000 line items with one-day activities with maybe thousands of different relationships. What that makes is that once you transfer this to your superintendent, it's very likely that they'll just end up taking this and building a Lookahead on the side that will not be connected. And also the danger is if you start saying, I'm doing the doors on a door, installing a door on June 26th of next year, the more detail you put into your contract, the more accountable your owner will keep you, because they'll say, you told me that you will be done by that date, which means you are not putting yourself at risk. It is always a conversation to have with your owner on the level of detail you want to provide, but the more you could phase it out and give yourself a little bit of room to then plan as you get closer to the work, the easier it will be to first engage your subcontractors into the planning instead of exactly telling them what to do, because at that stage, you've never involved them yet. You know, you're still doing your subcontractor buyout. And it will enable you to have a little bit more freedom to tell your owner, okay, we're doing an activity, but I have until that date to hit those milestones. Now that your contract is saved, let's say we get it approved by the owner, the next thing that's very important to do is to be able to save that baseline. Your contract baseline, this is the contract start, and this is the original baseline. The baseline will follow your agreement with the owner. Every time there's going to be a change order that enables you to change something in your contract or the duration that it worked, then you'll save a new baseline. So right now, I'll say save baseline. And it's going to be able to allow me to compare my planned, which is my contract, versus the actual progress that we're doing. So let's say if I go in and I make a change here just to show you in mobilization, we finish it early. Now, based on relationship I have, you see I'm finishing 5 days ahead of schedule. as I make that change. So you're able to see that change in an instant. And as you communicate with the owner, you could see if you're hitting or missing the dates. The other thing I'd like to show you is for the users here on the call that use Procore, it's very important, or another project management software, to keep your schedule in your project management suite. So here, what we could do is just I had a design software, a design update. I'm going to do a new update, and I'll call it again, construction start, and the date is June 21st. As I do this, my schedule will be now synced up into Procore in our case, because it is our project management software that we are utilizing. And it will enable me to now, as I navigate through Procore, navigate through the schedule tab, to have my schedule live into the platform. So I go to the Gantt view, and now I could see the schedule that we just built right here into Procore. What this does as well is it gives you the ability to, first of all, communicate and have live information on your schedule. It also gives you the opportunity to click on any of those activities and then start connecting within Procore to other, what we call related items. So let's say this activity, I like to connect it to a drawing, or maybe we have a change order, a field order that makes sense because we want to tell the story and reference. You are now able to do so. And on your homepage, you're starting to get analytics based on your schedule. You could see right here, the schedule tab is now up on top of the RFIs. And here we could go back in time and of course, download those files if you want to do version. The next thing I want to show you is how important it is to maybe use responsible companies or tags, and in this case, more of the tags column to able to color code your schedule. So right now, for example, we hear a lot of clients say the safety part is crucial to construction, because most companies will have a safety manager that needs to come on site, and we have a lot of requirement before maybe you do crane picks or a shutdown or anything. So in this case, what you could do is we'll have different tags that have been created on this project. You could create new tags as you like, or simply just start tagging the safety requirement that you have. So we know that the mobilize activity, I'm going to switch it by tags, has a safety component to it because we need to energize. Then as we do the excavation, we need to make sure that we get the right permit for the trenching. As we get to the steel structure, there's a crane coming in. So the crane day, we need to make sure that our safety manager is aware of it. As we energize here for the MEPs, again, there's going to be a shutdown. What this means now, as I go and do this, first of all, you could see that my schedule gets color-coded by the different activities and tags that I have. But the better part is because this platform here is unlimited users, it means your safety manager could just come in and say, let me, as a tag, look at everything that says safety. And now I could look at a safety schedule and print it out for my record, or just to know when will I be needed as a safety manager to come on this job site, give a call to the project manager, and make sure we could have a conversation with the team. As your schedule gets completed, of course, you need to put this into your contract. So what we could look at is, we know that a lot of time owners want to look at a critical path, and maybe I'm remove the tags here. So we could see that our critical path here is going to be the framing, typical concrete framing. We get to the second level to be able to get here. That makes sense. What you could do here directly is navigate to download schedule PDF. Depending on the format you like, you could decide here if you like to print it out. We recommend using the all content because it's easier to see on a computer. And there you'll see that what you see on your screen will be what prints out. We don't need to play around too much into detail and like the settings. Pro planner is the contractor. ABC is our owner. We say, project name and the project information. And I could see here, I have a critical path schedule with all the milestones that I have that I could use to give my owner as a contract. Again, ways to customizing this the way you like, depending on the reporting is done. You could do it by color-coded by tags or just by status that will show, those activities have been completed and these ones are still pending. Let's get this back to 30 days. So now that our contract is completed, let's talk about planning. So we have built a contractual schedule that will help us leverage collaboration in the planning side, which means now superintendent will be able to break out these activities into more detail. Now using Pro Planner, you don't need to do this in an Excel spreadsheet on the side. You could use our Lookahead module. But before we get there, I'd like to show you, we have an example. I have pre-built a few activities to show you the number of tasks, for example. As you go right now, we see that mobilize, which is 30 days already has been broken out into 8 tasks. I can navigate here to the activity card, to the task, and then see what my team has been up to. Well, we broke it out into this sequence of tasks. There's no progress yet. We could see the responsible and so on. So as a project manager, I don't need to go into the Lookahead to see all the detail. I could just see it right here. So now let's imagine that the project is ready to go. My superintendent is mobilizing and we need to add the detail to coordinate the field. Here, you could select which 4, 5, 6 week, which range your team is doing. In this case, because our product isn't quite started, I'll just go ahead of time and just say, let me show all activities. And I want to bring in mobilize, grade, excavation, and maybe the footings. What this does is it's bringing your activities from your contractual schedule into your planning view. Why is this important? Too often we see superintendents not really being able to either access the schedule, not knowing what those milestones are, but knowing what is my contract saying. And it makes it cumbersome on them. Here, the idea is, you see, we broke out already mobilize. That was 30 days into a sequence of tasks that is color-coded by trade, that is tagging the right people. So you could now have that conversation with your subcontractors and plan out the work in a collaborative fashion. So let's now get to the footings. We have 10 days here. I want to add more detail. What you could do, I'm the superintendent. I'm having this meeting with my foreman. This is what we would recommend. We see it done 2 ways, depending on the project. Sometimes the superintendent will just get in and add the level of detail that they need, then coordinate with the subcontractors. If you want to do a collaborative aspect, the great thing here is because it is unlimited users, your team can simply have access to the Lookahead here and add their own task. Then as a superintendent, you coordinate in a foreman session and then finalize the plan. So footings, we have a few things we need to do. We have to lay out for the footings. We need to dual our rebar. Of course, it's a steel structure, so we are going to need to install embeds. There's a little bit of formwork to do. And then we know that there is a pre-pour inspection. And then we're pouring. So based on this, again, we know, the team knows that the time allocated for this was 10 days. Very simple way to say, okay, everything here is being done by the same contractor, which is a concrete company. Done. As you have that conversation, ask your team as much as you can, what is the expected crew size? This will help you ensure that they show up with the right amount of people and there's no labor issues. So the layout, let's say it's going to be 1 person. Rebar, we have maybe a separate crew. Let's say we have a separate crew that's coming in to do the rebar, and I'll just select another company floor plan just to show you the coloring. Embed form pre-pour, and pre-pour is going to be done by the contractor as well. And the embeds is 2 people, forming 4, pre-pour inspection 1, and then on 4 days, we're going to have 5 people. So you listed all your tasks. Again, it could be the superintendent or the subcontractors having access to do this. And so, okay, I know the layout is going to be 1 day, then I'm going to start the rebar on Monday, and the rebar is going to be taking me the whole week. The last 2 days of the rebar, we'll be doing embeds. As my rebar is going, we need to start forming right after when it's done. So maybe the last day when they're finalizing rebar, I could have a crew coming in to form until that last day. The pre-pour inspection will happen on Thursday, and then the pour will be Friday. That is a time frame that we could make work. What you could do is, in order to hit those milestones that end it, so we don't see delays, people, your subcontractors, you can have a conversation about adjusting manpower. That's the key thing here. Instead of just building out of nowhere and planning out of nowhere, you know that now you need to have and follow that sequence. The other thing about collaborative planning is, as you have those conversations with your subcontractors and you're doing your plan and getting all the detail that you need, problems will arise or issues that needs to be solved before you build. And we all know in construction, whether it is an RFI, a submittal, and contract that needs to be sent, equipment that needs to be on site, there is a schedule before the schedule. There's a list of things you need to do before you can build. We often see people, I on my project, we had what we call a tracking log of all the issues and issues log on a whiteboard. Some people just track it themselves. What you could do here is easily track what we call a roadblock to the specific task. So let's look at forming here, for example. in order for me to form, maybe I need to make sure that the equipment is on site. We need to carry all those big forms that we have to the right place. Or I don't want to form maybe until this submittal has been approved because we have something specific to this area. So what your subcontractors or the superintendent could do is send an action item to someone on the admin side, typically, whether it's a project manager, the admin, the design team, and so on something that you need in order to build. Because we know we cannot build until submittals are approved, the RFIs are being answered, the contract is being out, or safety documentation is ready. And what this will do is help you minimize risk, and you could stick to build as planned. So let's say we need submittal 25 to be approved or to form. You will then select who is in charge of it. So in this case, let's select, we have a superintendent. And what date do we need this by? So the forming activity starts on 12/29. Maybe we have a little bit of time in this sense. So let's say, if you keep navigating here, you see the latest date you could do it is January. So in this case, let's get this done by the Friday before. As you create this roadblock very visually now, you're able to see that every time there's a cone, there's something needed on the admin side before you build. If you don't remove those roadblocks on time, your field will be delayed. And you can see here, I have a few that I have created also in this area because it makes it a lot easier to bring attention to the issues. So these roadblocks also being able to be tracked in the roadblocks view. Now you can see that we have a bunch of open roadblocks that we need to get to. You could see what the roadblock is about, what type is it, who is in charge of it, the status, when do you need it by, and if not answered on time, which task will be impacted. As you start taking care of them, let's say this one got taken care of, removed, you'll see it go to another category. If ever you're past due, it is going to show up in red and tell you now you are behind schedule. So this is likely going to impact your project. Know that as you create the roadblocks, people get an email to hold you accountable to say, make sure to get this done. Some of you have noticed we have a little Procore icon here. So with ProPlanner, you're able to connect your RFIs from Procore to your Lookahead. So in my schedule, remember we're in Procore here. I have created a few RFIs because we're doing design as RFIs that were created. 2 in this case. As your RFIs come into ProPlanner, if it's critical and you know it will impact the field because you're missing key dimensions or questions before you build, and also because we know that if there's a pending RFI, you don't want to go build, because what happens if you do, you have to rip it off, there's something you need to change, and again, it's rework, rework, and rework. The great thing here is you could track them directly in your planning view. And if you have a question, or if you, what we recommend is use this view during your daily huddle, during your foreman's meeting, during your IC meetings, because you need to get all those roadblocks done in the right time so that the team can keep building. And if you have a question about a specific RFI in Procore, you could click right here and get access to the RFI detail information and see the status. As you close it into Procore, it will close it into ProPlanner automatically, making it and removing from your planning view. Something I like to highlight here on the collaboration piece is make sure to get access to our iPad app. The iPad app will give you access to do a lot of the updating, the updates, the visualization directly in the field. There's 2 ways you can now generate, the feedback to your subcontractors. So you could either print it, or they can print their own activities. They would come in here. They will be able to filter by a specific company or responsible, look at everything that says concrete, print their own 4-week look ahead. You do not have to be the one to do so. And for too long, we have, I believe I've seen on my project, even working in self-perform concrete within the same company, we tell subcontractors what to do without expecting them to be the expert. You pay these people a lot of money to be a partner on this project. If you don't trust them to have access to the look ahead, to have access to give you feedback, it's very difficult for them to be engaged in the success. So what this does is, by being collaborative means you're able to input your task. If they can't input the task, at least they're able to flag roadblocks, print the data that they need, and collaborate with their own team, because this needs a subcontractor to say, I need 10 people, I need to order material for this date at this time. The more you could give them a heads up, the more likely they are to build on time. So let's look at an exportable. Right now we need to export. It will start on Monday, 23rd of October. So PDF, daily view, and we'll go to October 23rd. What this will do is print a 4 weeks look ahead that we know everyone loves a piece of paper sometimes on a job site if we're not used to having an iPad. So right here, there we go. We have a 4 weeks look ahead showing color-coded task. Electrical is yellow, plumbing is orange, blue, and so on who is working where. And you also see the expected crew size in each of the columns. This means that there's no more excuse of saying I don't have the plan. They are able to see, they're able to plan, they're able to be ahead of time. This will also be available on the iPad app. So the few things you could do here on the iPad app, of course, is changing start date, end date, but the main thing is progress. You now have the ability as your team's status is the look ahead to be able to update progress. So we do recommend that if you want to have live information, the quicker you know about potential delays, the easier it is for you to reflect and act on it. If you wait a week to update your schedule, well, now you're already a week behind. If you print out a PDF of your schedule, you're already behind. Here, you're able to have access to the data live. So let's look at fencing. Let's say fencing, we got this done, trailers are done, and the power about halfway through. You can see that as I do this, the progress of my schedule gets updated in real time, which means that I do not have anymore to have an Excel spreadsheet updated and then another document and the schedule updated. You could have your entire team in the same product here, and this is what collaboration means, have access to the same information and work together. The other thing that you're probably all itching to ask me about is, okay, what happens if there is a delay? Stuff goes south on job sites every day. There's something that will happen. How do you catch it? So for example, here, let's say we missed the pre-pour inspection. So it's going to take us a couple days. Now it's Friday and we could only pour on Monday. As you see that I do this, our team is doing this, they cannot directly impact the contractual schedule. There needs to be a fail-safe. And this fail-safe, what we called it, is a modification request. So your superintendent or subcontractors now are able to send a modification request, but they need to explain your request is, hey, Mr. Project Manager, I do not have enough time or something happened that I need more time for this activity to be completed. We need to impact the schedule. Again, you're getting a heads up. So in this case, missed pre-pour inspection, I need to redo homework and pour is pushed by 3 days. As you send this, whoever is in charge of the schedule, you'll see here, I got a bit of a notification that came up. Oh, we have a modification request. Let me click on it. It's going to get you to your schedule, to that modification request, so that you could run the scenario of, if I take the hit here, how is this impacting my schedule? It's very simple. So right now, let's look at footings. Footings, I have this little icon. So what I recommend doing here to be able to do so is you could display your critical path. So you could know that, okay, footing is on a critical path. We have no delays right now. We're right on time. It's the beginning of our schedule. I navigate here to the modification request tab. I see the request. We went from 10 days to 2 days. The new end date is 108. Let me click preview and see how is this impacting my milestone and my schedule. Wow. So here I could see it's very simple. It is impacting my entire critical path and most of my schedule by 2 days. We're just starting the project. So now it will not remove the conversation you will have between your superintendent and the team and your project manager. That's not the point. The point is to inform every time there's an impact from the look ahead or maybe an impact to the schedule, to be able to do a preview and an analysis and be able to make a more informed decision. Because again, at the look ahead, you are only looking at 4, 6, or 8 weeks. You do not know all the sequencing and the schedule and the contract requirement. Here, you're able to say, okay, maybe we don't have a choice. We'll approve it, but we need to make sure that maybe we could start the steel structure or talk to the steel structure team and maybe get this done in 25 or 30 days. In this case, you could see my schedule is already a little bit behind, 2 days behind schedule. My next schedule update, come in, print, and I'm able to show this to the owner that we have 2 days behind because of this happen. Getting back to the look ahead before I finish this and we wrap it up for questions. Again, the idea is you get to pick with this tool. What we recommend doing is getting your subcontractors involved as much as possible because it means that they are more inclined to participate into the planning. I hear a lot of superintendents say, well, I just don't want to do it. They may not want to do it because for the last 25 years, we've been telling them how to do it, but they are the ones that are the most likely to tell you, I know how to do electrical, I know how to do concrete, these are the issues that I see. What we see the benefits are here is now They have access to the plan live. They have access to give you feedback live. They do not have to ask you for a copy of a PDF or a printout, which means that any impact, any action taken is instant. You don't have to wait a couple hours. You don't have to miss something. And both your look ahead and your schedule would be live. And that's the powerful part about building a contractual schedule that is focusing on promoting collaboration. That's what would then generate you to be able to have enough freedom here to plan and add the detail that you need as long as you hit the milestones. And you could see here, we encompassed the new duration, and we're now extended the old contractual schedule and everything pushed out accordingly. I'll pause here. This is what I wanted to show today as far as best practices around scheduling, and promoting collaboration on project, and it all comes from the contractual schedule. The conversation you'll have with the owners at the beginning about the level of details you need to provide, the milestones, and then the key phasing that you have is key to you promoting collaboration on your project. If you have a 5,000 line item schedule with day-and-day activities, it will make it either impossible for your team to really make adjustments or a lot of cumbersome work, or it leads to your field team being completely disconnected because they won't know how to use the product, therefore they'll use something else, i.e. an Excel spreadsheet or sticky notes that will be then disconnected. So opening it up for questions, what you could do is go to the Q&A at the bottom and then type in any questions that you may have so we could answer it. And again, it could be best practices around scheduling and planning, or it could be more related to Pro Planner if you like. But the goal today was not so much to do a sales pitch on Pro Planner, but more so to give some feedback on how to leverage collaboration by building a proper schedule. Any question? I see a lot of current users or current clients, some people that are not our clients yet. Feel free, anything that rings a bell, or if you don't agree with me, please, let's have a conversation. All right, so I'm seeing a couple coming in. Kyle, when contractors are invited to add tasks, do they access it through Procore or through Pro Planner? Great question. So there's two ways you could do it. So I'm going to share my screen again and show you, actually, this is very important. If you're a Procore user, what you could do is very simple. You're able to access Pro Planner directly from Procore. That makes it a little bit easier for people to keep track of it. And now you have access to Pro Planner Live right here. So you can see right now I have access to all my projects directly from the Procore app. It could be either or. This is a window. So now you could go to the project and get the information that you need. Note that the project partners, there's different level of users that you could define. So what we call the permission matrix. We recommend leveraging the project partner profile that enables them to see the schedule, participate in the look ahead, create roadblocks, look at the weekly work plan without ever impacting, your schedule, but at least they're informed on what is happening. Great question. Will this recording be sent out to all attendees? Yes, of course. We'll record this. We'll also probably put it online and make sure that everyone has access to. What I'd be curious to know is if you have any thing that you'd like to do as a step 2, maybe a deeper dive on the look ahead, maybe a collaborative session with more people. Happy to bring in a customer as well that is using this to give more feedback. Today was more of an introduction to it. Could you please provide another example of updating the schedule? I'm curious what it would look like if you update more than one activity and how that would affect the other activities, of course. So there's a couple ways you could update the schedule. Again, it's not a one size fits all. Some of you may have larger projects. Some of you may have smaller projects. So let's say for any reason you have a project that's small, you're doing a TI, and all you need to do is update directly here from the scheduling module. You could just say, inputting a progress here and say, oh, this one is done. You could also click here on this action bar and update your progress as you go. The only thing is if there is a task in your look ahead like this, you then cannot impact the progress because the progress will come from your look ahead. So what you could do instead of here and touching the progress right there, you could navigate to the task and say, okay, why is this 44% complete? It looks like fencing, trailer, and power is done. Oh, it looks like the power, we missed it. Actually, we're done. You could update it directly from the schedule and then print out this update and make sure it's ready to go. I see, Kyle, you raised your hand. Did you have another question? Or did I miss it? Any other question you may have as far as anything on the best practices around scheduling? I think it's also important to tie there, or it could be also about pro planning. Elizabeth, okay, so question about the printout. At the moment, so Elizabeth, you're asking about the data date. That's a feature that actually we have been requested and we are going to be launching. So very good question. We understand that sometimes if you have a project and you need to do update by May 31st and it's June 6th, you do not want the print date to show June 6th because your owner expects you to do a May 31st update. And we know that we can't do all the updates the day of. So in order to help with this, we have talked to a few clients and we will implement a way to customize the print date so that you are able to now show the back date or what you like to show with the client. So very good question, Elizabeth. Kyle, I use expected progress column to show as of today where the progress should be FYI. This is very good feedback. So if you don't know what exactly the progress should be as of today, because it may be difficult to see, and we could take this activity as an example, there's a column here that you call expected progress, and you could see, okay, as of today, we should be about 30% complete. So that will give you an idea if you're trending ahead or behind schedule. Question from Chris Joseph. So when updating from the mobile app, does it override the current schedule or does it create a new save for the new schedule? So the mobile app, so the iPad app right now is focused on the Lookahead module. So just as I've shown you in the Lookahead module within the platform, in the app, you will be able to edit start date, end date, progress, and make quick adjustments. So this will show it live. The good thing is it will not update your contract schedule unless you send a modification request. The only thing that will push through will be the progress. And then if you make changes to the start and end date, and of course it's user-based. So if you don't give access to the users to change the dates, they'll just be able to see it and do filtering. So again, the iPad app is focused for the field. We built this because we heard too many of our clients say, well, I love to be doing quality, safety, and then update my schedule as I walk my job site. I don't want to have to go and do it in my office on my computer. Who else? What is the best practice to denote weather delay or something completed ahead of schedule? So a weather delay, I would say two things. It depends on how your client wants you to represent it. You could either have in your schedule, probably the best practice would be to have a WBS level that's called delays or schedule delays, and then track it there. So you show the impact to your schedule, or it's as simple as tracking a modification request and say, we've had delayed, pushed our activity here by 5 days, and then you send it into your schedule. If something is completed ahead of schedule, this will be a conversation to have with your superintendent and project manager, whether you want to capture it right away, and then your project manager will have to change the date. So pretty much if you change the date of your schedule as an earlier date, it will then adjust everything else accordingly, and even the task within. All right, let me go down the list. Elizabeth, is there any trouble with more than one person working in this project at the same time? So I would ask that question as a follow-up. Would you typically have multiple people touching your contract schedule? Usually not. It's one person that's dedicated as the project manager. If ever you have multiple project people working at the same time, at the moment, whoever will save first would be the person that would save the data. However, at the schedule level, it's always, I'd say 99% of the time, one person that is leveraging, having access to the contract schedule. You don't want multiple people to do this. At the Lookahead, it would just show live. So as you're updating task and activity and so on, if you reload, all the level of detail would be changed. So you could do, if you do a planning session, we have clients that are having subcontractors having access on their iPad, on their laptop. They add all the tasks that they need, quick reload, everything is sequenced, and then we could do our sequencing together. We have 8 minutes left. Let's keep another 3 maybe for question, anything that we could help with. Again, from current clients or people that are just interested. I'd be happy to, or interested in asking what you thought of the training, more so on scheduling and planning, and if you like to do something else that's focused on different module, or maybe a bit more deeper dive on collaborative planning at the Lookahead. Will we be able to set unique IDs to what we would like, similar to P6? So at the moment, you are able to have the unique ID column in Pro Planner. It's not customizable for now because we haven't had that request a lot. But if we get more of the requests, maybe there'll be a way to customize the unique ID field like you have a WBS in P6. But that's something we could look into, of course. Is Pro Planner available for one individual? I feel like if I could use this for months or so, it would be able to convince my team. Yes, so very simply, we do workshop and free trials for about a month. We have a way for you to do it live on your own. We recommend that you get in touch with maybe one of our sales rep or myself so that we could walk you through the workshop. The more we could help you as needed, we could have that conversation. If you prefer to do it on your own, we could also have you go through the tutorials. There's videos explaining you how to do it. And if you have questions, you even have access to the live chat to be able to ask any question to our team for help. Are there any specific training videos for contractor subs that train on adding tasks? Yes. So if you navigate actually at the bottom right of Pro Planner right here, you'll see that chat bubble. You could either talk to our team or you could say, I want to look at training videos. As I go to the training videos, it will open a new window. And right here, you could look at a video on how to create a Lookahead, how to create task, or you can navigate here to the Lookahead planning, and then you're really able to see how to do all the things that we just looked at. I'll do a task in the Lookahead, and it's going to run you through the clicks. That's simple. I see, Elizabeth, you have another question about baseline. I think I'll have our customer success team reach out if there is something we could help training you on about the baseline. I'll make sure that our team reaches out to you. All right, if nothing else, I would love to close it for today. We'll probably keep doing workshops. We may do more of those training session or maybe live workshop, depending on different areas that you're based in, done by either our other sales reps or by customer success team. Thank you all for your time. We'll make sure to share the video with everybody. And if you have any further question, you could simply reach out to us through our website or get in touch if you're already talking to one of our reps. Thank you all for your time.